I'm also going to take notes with Gemini because it does a nice summary for me as well.
Yeah.
All right. Hello, Dorothy. I'm just going to get you to introduce yourself. I know everybody knows you, but just for the sake of doing it, let's just do a quick introduction and maybe the both sides of Dorothy, the two companies that you do.
Oh, well, hello, Richard. Well, thank you for having me and your AMA, your first ever. This is history. I like history. So I am Dorothy Vernon-Brown. As I like to say, I'm Dorothy, the Wizard of Oz. And a lot of you know me in two roles. One, it's the founder of AKB2 Small Business Marketing, where I help entrepreneurs and business owners, service providers like you, save time and leverage AI and automation tools so we don't burn out or we don't sacrifice our health. And that sacrifice health is a very big piece to me. And some of you also know me as the chair of Donor Drive for Dorothy. We like to call it DD for D, which is a Canadian charity organization that is about educating and creating awareness around the severe underrepresentation of Black donors in Canada's National Stem Cell Registry. And I'm sure as we get in the conversation, Richard, that will become clear why our focus is there.
I love it. Thank you. I had to put the mute on because I'm coughing away in the background. So the first time I heard about this, I was kind of surprised because it's a big undertaking. In my mind, it's a big undertaking to take on a charity role. I totally got it. I read your website, saw your bio, and obviously there's a huge story behind the story, and it's a great thing that you're doing. I've been involved in a number of different charity organizations. You know Angela Carter, who used to be the executive director of Roots Community Services, and so her and I go way back, probably close to 25 years. When I first met her, and she was into communications, and then she told me her story of moving over, kind of like that end of the career, do good instead of like do. Michael E. Cheney's, the head of Portland Investment, says, do well so you can do good, right? Like have a good, profitable life so that you can then turn that effort and your learnings towards doing good. So it's not uncommon to do this, but it's like to do it is like you don't run in front of a lot of people that do that. So what was it? So you tell me the story that kind of triggered the start of you for the charity.
Well, this came out of a personal need and a desperation. So back in 2013, I just out of the blue, without any warning, I was diagnosed. I just saw a bruise on my left thigh. And then, long story short, it turned out to be acute myeloid leukemia, which is a very deadly blood disease, blood cancer. And so that shocked me. I chose conventional treatment, which is chemotherapy. I was treated at Princess Margaret Hospital, went through that first whole set, went into remission and said, go live your life, which is what I started to do. And those of you who know the cancer journey, you typically have to go do checkups, right? So one day going back to do a checkup, I got the bad news that the cancer had returned 10 months later. And my option at that point was a stem cell transplant, do more conventional therapy, or do nothing. And I actually thought of all three, because the thought of doing chemotherapy and going through that again was really harrowing. It's not a great experience by any stretch of the imagination. It's actually downright awful. But that said, and then for the stem cell, which meant you still had to go through, but now there was the stem cell infusion part. But the key about that, Richard, is that typically when a patient like myself need a stem cell transplant, you first look at your family, your healthcare professional, your oncologist looks to your family, your immediate family to see, that means my siblings, to see if there is a match. A match meaning if there's a compatibility with certain proteins in the body. And there was none. That actually started doing that the day that, well, not the day, but early on in my treatment. And there was not a match and I knew. And so when you don't have a match, which is not uncommon in most families. You're likely to find that in 25 to 30% of families that you do have a match. The rest, you don't. And so when there was no match, they typically now look at the registry. And since I'm in Canada, they look to the Canadian registry. And just a quick note here is that there are about 82 registries that are connected worldwide. So they search all the registries to find. So when they started searching, there was no compatible donor. But what the shocking thing that I found out in the hospital, Richard, that there was 1% of the registry was potential Black donors. And why that matters is that ethnicity, when it comes to a matching, you're almost pretty much looking for your twin, is that match is your ethnicity matters a lot. And because I'm Jamaican, that mattered a lot. Because I'm Black, it mattered a lot. So instinctively, with that 1%, I just pretty much knew that I wouldn't find one. I just knew it instantly. And so I thought about it and said, something need to be done about this. And if it meant that I had to go public, I made the decision. I spoke to my family and my friends, and I said, we have to do something about this, which meant I had to go public with my story. And I made a decision to go public with a story. And that's what I did, Richard. I went public and reached out to we reached out to a couple of media outlets, but we said we would do as a stem cell drive in my honor, because that's what Canadian Blood Services do, right? You'll see them around town, around provinces. They'll do our drive in honor of someone. Doesn't mean that you will likely find a donor, but it does mean that there's more awareness and getting more people in the registry. And so it really came out of personal need and a desperation to find a donor for myself. But knowing that act would increase the registry and bring more awareness around the dire underrepresentation. So that's really how it got started.
Yeah. So despite the fact they may not find treatments for you, they're finding for others, right? And it's a
Correct.
good, and it's a built-in system. I
Yeah.
want to kind of step back. This is a story of resilience, and there's lots to dig in there. I kind of stay at, the tools and what you learn, when your business mind kind of took over, like to
Yes.
go to the media. When you say go public, you have a communications background. I think it's journalism too. Like I know you did marketing and stuff at university. Did you know, like, to me, I kind of know what it means to go to the media. You got to kind of sell a story. I remember that my dad used to have a magazine publishing company. Did you know what was involved in that? Or is this like a first time you got into the media, didn't know what to expect?
Well, thank you for raising that point. I had no expectation. My goal was, let's get people to become aware. I mean, media for me is not new, because I've been back in my old job, I've been interviewed, television. Actually, from I am in high school, I would debate on television. So it's not new, and I'm not uncomfortable around media. The discomfort was disclosing my diagnosis and getting my life out there. That was discomfort for me. It's not talking. I didn't even think about that. I'm now desperate to live. And that's what it came down to, a desperation to find someone, and that my life, that could give me an opportunity to extend my life. That's what it was for me, Richard. And so that was what I grappled with. Now more people would know, because it was only my circle who would know my story, and that I had blood cancer. That was it.
That's a huge, there's an emotional aspect of it. It's super, people don't like talking about themselves on the best of times.
Correct.
But to be that open would be challenging. When you're reaching out to these media outlets, did you have to, like, what was it like? What did you call them? Did you, like, how was that?
No, well, actually, Richard, so I'm now in the throes of being sick again. So I'm sick again. So as soon as they tell you this thing is back, it's treatment time, right? I'm now getting treatment again to stave this thing off until we decide that we're going to go a stem cell route. So I'm now still sick. I didn't look like I was sick, but I am sick. This thing is in my body. But you know what? This is where actually sometimes that's a blur. So the first thing we did when I talk about going media is that we said we're going to do a drive. So I have all the things that they're going to do a drive. And so we use that opportunity to do this drive to reach out to the media that, you know, we're doing this drive. Can you cover it? And then within that we could talk about the underrepresentation. So I had friends and family who was also helping to do that part, because sometimes that part is a blur to me, because now for me my priority is to stay healthy enough to undergo what next is coming.
Yeah, it's like
So
you're living
it's
in a
not
fog.
business.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're living in a fog, but you're doing more than the normal person does,
correct.
right?
Yeah.
That, and I'm sorry to hear that. I had no idea that you're going through that again, which
Oh
is,
yeah.
how often has this happened? Is it just the third time now coming back, or
This is the first time, and the thing
first?
is the thing is the first time coming back. Each time leukemia it comes back, it's harder to treat, and your odds lessen. And so that's why treating it quickly with something that is a little bit more permanent or can cure you, you've got to do it really quickly. And that's why when we talk that cancer patients don't have time, you really don't have time. And that's why we do what we do, to be kind of proactive, to get people. It's almost like getting people in the register. It's almost like an insurance. So if somebody needs it, they have one. There's one quick, because getting out there, doing all these drives, getting more people in time, it's ticking. Your body's almost like a ticking time bomb.
And you're getting weaker all the time.
You're
You don't have
getting
that.
weaker. You're in treatment, and all of these things. The last thing you want in treatment, Richard, is to be under stress,
Yeah,
mental stress.
yeah, because it's physically draining as well as everything else
Yeah,
that's going on.
yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that. I think I mean you're a great spokesman for the cause, and like we were saying before we got on the call, you're extremely busy with your business. This is busy. You do other things as well, so I can only imagine how you're managing it all. I want to talk. So you're doing a walkathon. What's the date of the walkathon again? It's July 19th.
19th, it's Saturday. It's next Saturday from recording this call, the 19th of July. It's at the breathtaking Bronte Heritage Waterfront Park in Oakville. And yeah, we're doing it to create awareness and to raise funds. Because one of the things, Richard, coming out of this, and that we've learned so much over the years, is that, you know, I love to say it takes cash to care, and it really does. There was a study some time ago with a Canadian cancer, the Cancer Society, that about 90% of cancer patients actually undergo financial hardship. And we see that because although we're very fortunate in Canada to have our healthcare system, this universal healthcare system, but there are a lot of things that it doesn't cover that you don't know. And we've had patients who have had to choose between post-recovery meds and food. And that shouldn't happen, right? So I was saying that to say that we actually do financial grants to patients to help them ease the everyday burdens that they may have. To get people, when you're in a hospital, you're a caretaker, just for parking. You and I know how expensive parking is. If they're visiting your loved one every single day, just that adds up. That's at least $500 to your budget. That's on that you now a new budget line item that you have not accounted for. You know, these extra meds that you have to pay for. Or if you're trying to eat well, you and I know how costly that is, right? So we're not only do we walk to raise the awareness and get more people in registry, but we also walk to help people navigate the financial burden that it places on them post during treatment and post treatment.
Yeah, because you're thinking life or credit basically, and
Yeah,
life is gonna win, and you come out of it, you celebrate maybe, and then
yeah,
you got this overbearing bearing burden of the financial element that you have to deal with.
yeah.
So you mentioned the word grant, and again, I'm looking at the operational stuff really interests me as well as the story too. you talked about giving a grant. You also have earned a grant, disperse the money. Tell me how that whole process works.
Okay, perfect. I'm so happy that you've mentioned the word operation because again, it takes cash to care. We are a 100% volunteer run board. And the way that we can operate it's through grants and through sponsorships and through fundraising initiatives like the one we have on site. That's how we survive. And that's how, and luckily they're at this point, but we are at the stage where we need to start paying people. We don't have those line items for salary, but this has become such a full-time gig for the board members, and we're really fortunate to have people who've been on the board for about 10 years, but we're at the stage of burnout now, I can honestly say. And so one of the things that we do to maintain and to operate is seek out grants. So we have, and I'm the grant seeker and the grant writer. So we look for government grants and we look for other grants that companies may have, and we fundraise. And so that is in of itself a whole job. So now that we have successfully gotten some grants, there's some that are very specific to Black organizations that we've been very fortunate to get, which is good. Then there's the one recently we got the government grant to hire summer students. So that has been useful to us. But that was over 8 weeks, and now we're looking for other grants. So we're looking for grants that either United Way or Trillium or those kinds of grants. So every time you get a grant, it's just such full-time work to seek out these grants, find the grants, write these grants, and get them off. And then once you get them, is to be prudent, financially prudent in how they get administered based on the requirement of the grantors.
So I could tell you, Harper, my son, youngest, Harper, he's met him before, got his first full-time job, full-time temporary job, working for another charity. And so the grant not only helps the charity, it helps the people that the charity are taking care of, but also creates work and jobs. Correct. And all this other stuff. So it spawns a lot of things. And I was thinking, your board members burned out working hard. Are they paid board members or they're volunteer?
Every single one of us have been volunteer for at least 10 years.
I look at it like running a business where the business owner runs the business. You look at Dragon's Den or something like that. Yeah. It's like, great, your revenue is X. How much do you pay yourself? And a lot of times the owner can't afford to pay themselves quite yet, right? And I think a charity moves in that way as well. Eventually gets to a place where it needs to have staff.
Yes.
In order for people to give, like you think about, but I'm giving my money. Shouldn't the money go to in order, for somebody to give 40 hours a week of their time or 35 or whatever it is, they are giving up some other job. So they need to be paid. It's straightforward like that. What does that look like? So I know with Roots, I've helped them procure a new client management system, because from the tracking aspect, they get grants. They need to track how they've used that grants, what they've accomplished. Like you want success stories, you want measurable success stories. So right. We use the client management system to track those things, and then get that documentation back to that person gave you the grant, because that person might have gotten funding from somebody else. And it needs to go up the ladder.
There's the intermediary.
A huge accountable. To tell me about like you're scaling now. Like, where are you in that sort of realm? Like, there's big charities. There's lots of charities that are executing all these funds, and the ones that are actually hitting the streets. Where are you guys right now?
Right. So we're scaling. We're still small. Our goal is to move to a governance model, and that's our big goal. We're not actually doing the work. So right now we're a working board, and our goal is to move to the governance model. And that's why we have to look for grants that will pay salaries. And a lot of grants, admin salary is not part of it, right? So now we have to become very creative in how we fundraise or find sponsorships in order to get to start hiring people at a higher level. Because the truth is, a lot of people on our board operate at a high level. I'm in the marketing space. I have a software engineer on board. That's why we can do a lot of the things that you see we do. The automations, this and look great out there. But it is all volunteer and having those competencies inside. But we are at the stage that we absolutely need to move to our governance and hire new skills and skills that can replace us.
Help me out, simplify like governance versus the working charity versus the one higher up. What is the difference? What does that mean?
Governance is that we're just actually, as it says, governing what's happening. So so we're actually doing the work. So some of us are, if we're acting like an ED, the executive director, where we're actually getting stuff done. So the working board is actually getting in there, doing the thing, actually doing, which is what we all do. We are doing the thing. So when you see all the initiatives that we have, we, the board members, are actually doing it and at the same time governing. So that's a double whammy. So say, for argument's sake, the summer hires, that's a whole thing unto itself. We, the board members, are managing all of that. There's no ED to manage that. There's no ED to take on some of those responsibilities. We are actually, so the governance model is where you'd have an ED, an administrator, software person, whoever. Just think of all those people that you need to run a company. We need some of those. You need a marketing person. I am actually the marketing person, doing writing, getting things out there. The governance board, they just report to the board that it's governing and we ensure that things are running smoothly.
Okay, I'm watching the time now, so I want to save something for the actual Ask Me Anything session. But so you do marketing automation. You come to the board, you bring the marketing discipline.
Yeah.
I got a two-part question because I want to get to the marketing automation. Which came first, your agency or the charity, or do both teach and learn and share with each other? But the other thing I wanted to ask first about the board, when you're putting a board together, are you looking for the different disciplines that you need to run? Like, what are you looking for to put a board, even a volunteer board?
Yeah, ideally, Richard, that's what, because my mindset is think like for-profit and act like a non-profit. No, think like a for-profit and act like a non-profit. So I come to the board maybe because I have this background. And so for me, whatever is happening in the for-profit world, I want to bring it to our board in the non-profit. And as I said, thankfully, we have a software engineer that can execute on that. So that's my mindset, that we are really using the tools and the technologies to make us more efficient. And I think that's why we have been able to do the things that we have been able to do, right? Because we have those competencies in board. But ideally, that's how we're looking at stuff. Now, when we just started, truthfully, it's the friends and family that were part of this campaign. And it actually started the campaign. Then we saw where this was going. We incorporated into the nonprofit. We applied for charity status, and that's how we have evolved. But ideally, in putting together a board, personally, that's exactly what you need to do. Think like how for-profit companies think, in order, especially in this day where everything has changed and there is so much competition for donor dollars. You've got to think like that.
Yeah, I like that. So how do you share what you learn through the charity and through your work? Like, how does that? I guess it's you, right? You're just going to use the same tools that you not separating. There's not two different Dorothys, right?
It's not. It's not.
Yeah. So the one has benefited the other, and vice versa, basically.
Correct. Yeah. So the same Dorothy shows up. with the same mindset about how do we do X and how we do Y. Because I know, I mean, I've worked with all of charities. They don't even have an email list, is not even part of something they think about. Automation is not something they think about. So when I work with them, that's part of what I do, is that you need to build this thing because we depend on donor dollars. How do you constantly keep them? How do you segment them? How do you know who are your donors? Who are your sponsors? How do you know when to talk to them and what to say to them? As a matter of fact, even right now, I was just having a conversation with our software engineer, and one of the tools that we're using, we see the limitation in not being able to capture people's email. And we see that limitation because now we have to figure out how do we speak to this specific group of people are going to be walking. They can't be part of our general group of people, right? And we can't communicate in that very same way. So now, because we can see this thing, because we know what we're looking for and what some of the limitations are, then we can work around those limitations. So we've been very fortunate that we can bring this. We're very fortunate too, Richard, for like a lot of non-for-profits, they have to work through places like Eventbrite if they're doing events, or I think all the other ticketing system. We don't, because we have built our own ticketing system. And so in some cases, we don't have to pay those fees out because, we're always conscious about paying out fees. We don't have to pay those fees out. There's some platforms that the one we're using with the gamification and leaderboard, we do, right? That's how they make their money. And we've decided to use that, but we see the limitation. So those are things that we have to think about. So instead of going through, say, an Eventbrite, we have built out our own ticketing system because we have the competency in-house, and that we can eliminate those fees that we pay out.
I'm going to leave the rest for the AMA. I could see that a lot of people don't recognize how much accountability. Well, maybe that's obvious. The accountability that needs to count every dollar, and why people are concerned with how much of the money is going to administrative tasks versus the actual tasks at hand that they're investing in.
Right.
So there is, it's kind of like being accountable to the shareholder. Like what is forecasting for me to give you my money and you to make it bigger? So in a charitable world, it's like, I'm going to give you my hard-earned money. How are you the right team to execute this with the utmost efficiency? So there's a huge amount of parables. I'm going to let everybody else dig into that. One more time. So Dorothy, you've got a website set up for July 19th.
Yes.
I actually have a team set
Yes.
up for the B2B cohort. So go to the app. You're going to see my post on there. Please don't make me look like, a failure on this. So help me get my team donating more. And if you can, I mean, it's a wonderful day. Oakville is a beautiful you're right near the lake. It's a beautiful day to take the family out. And of course, it's the cause is the most important thing. But yes, Saturdays are precious in the summer. This will be a precious Saturday where you do good. You do well and have a great day, and you do good by what you're doing for the charity. So I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to post this on. Oh, go ahead. One last time. Go ahead.
One thing, and
Yeah,
you get a donation. If you donate $20 or more, you get a tax receipt because we're a charitable organization.
Exactly. Yeah. So feel good, do good, all that in there.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna wrap this up. I'm gonna post this on the B2B cohort. I'm gonna send an email out to everybody, let them know we're doing this, and they could get still a lot. Like they could dig in and ask you about, for me, the operational aspects of like, if you've thought about it, like, and a lot of people in our group are getting to that age where like, I don't need to worry about finances as much, but maybe I want to change my career and do good because I've done so well, right? So I'm looking forward to hearing. I've got it set so it'll automatically record, but if you can remember to record it as well so that I can post it for others that can't make it. But thank you so much for your time and volunteering to be the very first AMA Ask Me Anything candidate of the B2B cohort. So much. All right,
Thank you, Richard, for having me.
Thank you for taking the time and on your busy day to donate for us to learn. Appreciate it. And one more wrap. See you later. I'm going to hang up as well. Dorothy,
Okay.
see you. Okay. All right. Bye. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.